The night the creature arrived, the air over Marshall County felt as if it were holding its breath, thick, unmoving, and waiting for something terrible to wake. In the summer of 1879, the war was long over, but the soil of Mississippi still carried the weight of everything spilled on it. Farms rebuilt themselves out of stubbornness rather than prosperity, and old masters who had lost their kingdoms clung desperately to scraps of power. One of these men was Silas Redden, a plantation owner whose pride survived everything else that didn't. Redden had a habit of buying things he didn't need: horses too wild to ride, guns too old to fire, and once, even a broken riverboat he never touched again. But nothing he had ever dragged onto his land compared to what came off that wagon on the last day of July. The creature was taller than two men and twice as broad, its dark fur matted from the long voyage, its breath hot and sour from confinement. A gorilla, an actual gorilla, right here in the middle of Mississippi, as if the earth had cracked open and let the impossible crawl through. Redden had purchased it from a traveling exhibition after the owner died suddenly, the kind of death people whispered about, but didn't dare investigate. Rumors said the beast had snapped his spine like it was a twig. Others said the man died of fever. Redden didn't care which was true. He simply wanted a thing big enough, wild enough, terrifying enough to remind the world who he was. The freedmen on his land, former enslaved people now trapped by debt, fear, and the cruelty of circumstance, were ordered to build a pen outside the barn. Most refused. The few who stayed did so with shaking hands and quiet prayers under their breath. They'd seen enough horrors in their lifetimes to recognize a new one when it showed its shadow. But among them was one man who didn't flinch. His name was Isaiah Cole, 33 years old, tall, steady, scar running from his jaw to his ear, earned during the war when he fought for freedom that still hadn't arrived. Isaiah was the kind of man whose silence carried more weight than another man's shouting. Some said he saw things others couldn't. Others said he simply listened harder. What none of them knew, not yet, was that Isaiah had been waiting for something like this. Or perhaps the creature had been waiting for him. They first looked at each other in the dim morning light, when the wagon doors were swung open and the gorilla, half crazed from confinement, beat its fists against the iron bars. The other men stumbled back. One dropped his hammer. Someone muttered a prayer. But Isaiah didn't move. He stared straight into the creature's wild, furious eyes, and for a moment, just a breathless moment, the gorilla stopped. Its chest rose and fell. Its nostrils flared. And then it grew still enough that even Redden noticed. Well, now, the master drawled from behind them, twisting his graying mustache. Looks like the beast found someone to listen to. Isaiah said nothing, but the moment left a mark on him, settling somewhere deep inside, stirring something he hadn't felt since he was a boy walking alone through the cypress groves, listening to noises in the dark that sounded like voices. The pen was built by dusk. Redden ordered the creature locked inside and fed scraps from the butchering shed. The gorilla roared until midnight, fists slamming against the wooden beams, shaking dust from the rafters. No one slept. Mothers held crying children. Men sat with their backs against doors, knives gripped tight even though they knew knives wouldn't matter. Isaiah, however, walked alone to the edge of the pen. Moonlight spilled across the enclosure. The gorilla slumped in the corner, chest heaving, eyes reflecting silver. Isaiah stood still, hands loose at his sides. He didn't know why he was drawn there, only that something pulled him with the quiet persistence of a tide. "You're hurting," he whispered. The creature's ears twitched. He took one step closer, slow and unthreatening. The gorilla didn't charge, didn't roar. Its breathing softened, muscles unwinding just slightly, as if some invisible thread tethered them together. Isaiah didn't touch the wooden bars, didn't reach out. He simply stayed, letting the night settle around them like a shared blanket. And in that fragile silence, he realized something terrifying. It understood him. Not like an animal understands the rustle of leaves or the sound of hunger, but something deeper, something that reached past instinct and into whatever lived behind its eyes. Isaiah felt it like a warmth in his chest, a presence brushing against him, studying him. A connection forming where no connection should exist. He stepped back, startled by the sudden rush of sensation. The creature's head followed him, eyes never leaving his. That night changed everything. By morning, rumors curled through the quarters like smoke. Some said Isaiah had bewitched the beast. Others said he carried a curse. Redden didn't believe either, but what he did believe was more dangerous. He believed he could use Isaiah. You, Redden barked after breakfast, pointing a dirty finger at him. The creature takes to you. Good. You'll feed it. You'll clean its pen. You'll keep it calm. That'll be your work now. Isaiah didn't object. He simply nodded and set to the task, though part of him wondered if he was walking willingly into a cage of his own. The days passed with a strange rhythm. The gorilla no longer raged. It ate when Isaiah brought food. It rested when he sat nearby. Sometimes it watched him with an expression too human for comfort, recognition, curiosity, maybe even something like trust. But there were moments when its eyes darkened, when its muscles rippled with an energy that felt almost electric. Isaiah sensed it before it happened, like the pressure before a storm. And every time he whispered a calm word, the storm passed. Every time but one. It happened at the end of the second week. Redden's youngest son, drunk on moonshine and arrogance, stumbled toward the pen with a pistol in hand, laughing at his own stupidity. He slapped the wooden bars, shouting slurs, firing a shot into the air just to watch the creature jump. Isaiah heard the commotion from the barn and ran. He arrived just in time to see the gorilla rise to its full height, chest bursting with a roar so powerful it vibrated through the ground. The young man stumbled back, terrified now, pistol shaking in his hand. The creature slammed its fists against the beams, splintering wood, cracking nails loose. Isaiah didn't think, he just moved. He stepped between the young man and the pen, raising both hands, speaking the same words he'd spoken the first night. You're hurting. It's all right. I'm here. But this time, the connection surged through him like fire, like something waking up inside him that he didn't remember putting there. The gorilla froze mid-strike, panting heavily, eyes locked on Isaiah with an intensity that made his skin prickle. And then, impossibly, the creature lowered itself. The rage drained away. It rested its forehead against the bars as if seeking comfort. Silence swallowed the yard. The young master dropped the pistol and ran. Isaiah stood trembling, breath unsteady, because he knew what everyone else would soon know. Whatever lived inside that creature had reached for him, and something inside him had reached back. He didn't understand it. Not yet. But he knew it wasn't natural. It wasn't normal. It was something else, something no one in Mississippi had ever seen. And within 24 hours, the entire county would hear the first whispers of the unexplainable. The heat settled differently the next morning, heavy and watchful, as if the sky itself expected something to break. Word traveled fast in the countryside, carried by gossip, carried by fear, carried by men who ran their mouths too freely when whiskey loosened their tongues. By sunrise, half the county had heard the same impossible rumor, that Silas Redden's new beast bowed its head to a black man like a servant kneeling to a king. Isaiah felt none of the attention directly, but he felt its pressure, thick as humidity. Every pair of eyes followed him. Men who once nodded at him out of habit now kept their distance. Women pulled children closer. Some muttered prayers, not out of disrespect, but out of the old fear that anything unexplainable must be dangerous. Isaiah didn't blame them. He was still afraid of himself. He walked toward the pen with a bucket of water, feeling the way the ground seemed to pulse under his feet. The gorilla was already awake, sitting with its arms draped over its knees, chest rising in slow breaths. It watched him approach with a softness that did not match the monstrous size of its body. You almost gave us both trouble yesterday, Isaiah murmured. The gorilla huffed, as if it understood. Maybe it did. He set the bucket down, feeling again that strange pull, like stepping too close to a deep river and sensing the current tug at your ankles even before you fall in. It scared him, but it also drew him forward. He couldn't explain why. He only knew that some things in life chose you long before you ever recognized them. A wagon rattled up behind him. Isaiah turned to find Silas Redden climbing down, face flushed not with drink, but with excitement. His boots pounded the dirt in quick steps as he approached, a greedy smile stretching across his thin lips. Show me, Redden said. Isaiah frowned. Show you what, sir? Don't play dumb. The whole county already heard you've got the beast trained. So show me. Isaiah swallowed. He ain't trained. He's... Enough. Redden's voice cracked like a whip. Do what you did yesterday. Isaiah looked toward the pen. The gorilla watched them, head tilted slightly, sensing the tension. Isaiah didn't want to perform like some circus trick, but refusing wasn't an option. No one refused Silas Redden unless they wanted to disappear into one of the gullies behind his land. So Isaiah stepped closer. His voice came low, steady. "It's all right. I'm here." The air shifted. The gorilla, who moments earlier sat upright and alert, lowered its gaze, shoulders softening. Its breathing deepened. It leaned forward, offering its forehead against the bars like a child pressing close to a familiar hand. Redden's eyes widened, hunger gleaming inside them. "Do you see that?" he whispered. "Do you understand what this means?" "I don't know what it means," Isaiah replied. Redden grabbed his arm. "It means you and that creature are going to make me rich. I can show this thing across the South, maybe the whole country. A savage beast controlled by a Negro man. Do you understand the spectacle that would be?" Isaiah stiffened. He didn't answer, but Redden didn't wait for one. "I'll build a bigger cage. A stage. A traveling wagon. You'll come with it. You'll keep it calm. And every man, woman, and child from here to Virginia will pay a dime to see you two together." "I don't want that," Isaiah said quietly. Redden's eyes hardened. "You don't get to want." He turned and walked away, barking orders to his oldest son. Isaiah stood still in the dust, chest tightening. Something inside him, a scarred, long-buried place, flared with the familiar pain of being treated as less than human. He felt a vibration near the wood. The gorilla was watching him, not with calm recognition this time, but with a simmering anger that mirrored his own. The bars trembled under the creature's grip. Isaiah lifted a hand. "No, don't. You'll only hurt yourself." The tension eased just slightly, but the creature rumbled deep in its chest, and Isaiah realized with a chill that it responded not just to his words, but to his emotions. The anger he tried to bury inside himself stirred inside the beast as well, echoing between them like two strings on the same instrument. That was what frightened him most. Later that evening, when the sky bruised purple and the cicadas screamed their nightly chorus, Isaiah returned alone. Redden was drunk somewhere, laughing too loudly, convinced he'd won himself a future. The other workers had gone quiet in their cabins, doors shut tight. Isaiah approached the pen and whispered into the dusk. "I don't know what you want from me." The gorilla shifted, lifting its head. The moon caught its eyes with an eerie silver gleam. "I don't know what you are," Isaiah continued. "But whatever this is, it's changing things. And I'm scared of what it'll change next." The gorilla stood. Not threateningly, not aggressively. Just stood. Slowly, it pressed the back of its massive knuckles through the gap between the bars, inching them toward him. An invitation. Or a question. Isaiah's heart hammered. "No," he whispered. "You'll hurt me without meaning to." But the hand remained there, waiting. Isaiah hesitated. Then, drawn by something he couldn't fight, he reached out and laid his palm against the fur. A shock moved through him. Not physical, not like a jolt, but something deeper, something ancient. Memories that weren't his flickered through his mind. Dense forests, the scent of rain, the echo of distant thunder. Feelings surged, loneliness, loyalty, fear, the instinct to protect something fragile. He staggered back. The gorilla pulled its hand inside the pen and let out a low sound, almost mournful. Isaiah pressed a trembling hand to his chest. Whatever passed between them wasn't language. It wasn't instinct. It was something far beyond either. And that meant Redden had no idea what kind of force he was trying to control. As Isaiah walked away, feeling the weight of the invisible thread still tugging at him, he didn't notice the figure hiding near the fence line. The figure who had watched everything. The figure whose breath trembled with fear and excitement. Redden's oldest son stepped quietly backward into the shadows, eyes wide with the realization that his father wasn't exploiting some trick of behavior, but something unnatural, something powerful, something dangerous. His voice shook as he whispered into the darkness. "Pa needs to know. This ain't just a beast. And that man ain't just a man." ChatGPT said. The forest had never been so still. Even the wind held its breath, as if afraid to stir the branches after the chaos that had torn through those woods. Isaiah floated in and out of darkness, caught between pain and the echo of a roar that still vibrated through his bones. When he finally forced his eyes open, he was lying on his side, cheek pressed against damp soil. The world swayed. Everything hurt. But he was alive. A shadow loomed beside him. Not human, not small. Massive fingers brushed gently against his arm, pulling him onto his back with a tenderness no one would have believed from a creature so powerful. The gorilla bent low, its enormous chest rising in uneven breaths, black fur streaked with dirt and blood. Its eyes, usually fierce and bright, now glimmered with a wounded, trembling fear. It thought he was dying. Isaiah swallowed hard. I'm still here." The creature's throat rumbled, a sound that trembled on the edge of grief. It placed a hand over Isaiah's ribs, not pressing but feeling, like it needed proof that his heart still beat. Then Isaiah heard something else, something far worse. Voices. Human voices. Redden's men. Those who survived. They were coming back. Isaiah forced himself to sit, gripping the gorilla's arm to keep from collapsing. "Listen to me," he whispered. "You have to go. Take the young one. Get as far from here as you can." But the gorilla planted itself in front of him, refusing. Even wounded, it rose to its full, towering height, chest heaving like a shield preparing to take the bullet Isaiah couldn't survive. "No," Isaiah breathed. "I won't let you die for me." The creature shook its head, and in that moment, bleeding, barely conscious, Isaiah finally understood the strange bond between them. It wasn't magic. It wasn't a trick. It wasn't control. It was recognition. Both of them had been ripped from their past, shackled by someone else's power, made to live in cages they didn't choose. Both knew the quiet agony of being treated as less than human. Both carried the instinct to protect the helpless, the young gorilla in its arms, and the nameless children on the plantation Isaiah used to kneel beside in the fields, whispering stories to keep them from crying. They were mirrors, and mirrors don't abandon each other. The underbrush crackled. Redden stumbled into the clearing, face smeared with blood, one eye swollen shut. His shotgun dangled from his hand, but his voice carried the old venom. "You think you can hide behind that monster?" he growled. "You think it cares about you? It's an animal, Isaiah. It's nothing." The gorilla roared, a thunderous sound that shook leaves from the branches overhead. Redden cocked the shotgun, aiming straight at its heart. Isaiah pushed to his feet, stumbling forward. "Redden, don't move," Redden warned. "I'll put it down, then I'll deal with you." Isaiah didn't move aside. He stepped between the barrel and the beast. Redden laughed once, sharp, humorless. "I should have known. A savage protecting another savage." He pulled the trigger. A click. Silence. Redden's smile faded. He tried again. Another click. The damp of the forest had soaked the powder, rendering the weapon useless. The gorilla surged forward with a sound that seemed to rip the air open. Redden screamed. The men behind him dropped their guns and ran, but Redden tripped backward over a root, scrambling in the dirt. The gorilla stood over him, massive arms shaking with fury, breath hot and ragged. One more moment, and it would end him. Isaiah shouted, voice breaking. "Stop!" The creature froze, because Isaiah's voice wasn't just a command. It was a plea, a desperate one. Isaiah limped toward them. "If you kill him, they'll hunt you forever. They'll burn every forest from here to the river to find you, and the young one won't survive a single day of it." The gorilla's chest heaved, torn between two instincts, justice and survival. Its enormous hands curled into fists, then slowly relaxed. Redden couldn't believe it. He stared up at the creature that could have crushed him like a twig, and the man who stopped it. Isaiah turned to Redden, voice shaking with exhaustion. "If you want to kill someone today, you'll have to shoot me too, because I'm walking away with them." Redden's mouth opened, but no sound came out. There was no power left in him. The woods had taken it. Isaiah had taken it. The gorilla stepped back. Redden crawled away, trembling, broken not by violence, but by the sight of a man he'd tried to own standing taller than he ever could. Isaiah knelt by the young gorilla. Its breaths were shallow, weak. He placed a hand on its chest, wishing his strength were enough to heal it. The larger one bowed its head beside him, and together they stayed like that, three wounded souls holding each other in a world that had tried to break them all. When the sun dipped low, they began moving, slowly, carefully, toward the deeper woods where no men traveled. Isaiah didn't know where they would go, but he knew the world beyond Redden's land was wide enough to lose themselves in, wide enough to begin again. The gorilla walked beside him, never letting him fall. As they disappeared into the trees, Isaiah felt something he had not felt in years. Freedom. A freedom shared. A freedom earned. And behind them, for the very first time, Silas Redden did not follow. He simply watched, small and helpless, as the man he had tried to chain walked away, shoulder to shoulder with a creature the world feared, but Isaiah understood. And the forest swallowed them whole. If this story moved you, if it reached somewhere quiet inside you, then stay with this channel. Because history holds countless stories that were never written, never honored, never remembered, until now. Thank you for keeping their voices alive.